Hello and welcome to Wellbeing on Spectrum Television. It's so good to have you join me today on the show. I am Uyime Serial. Please do well to follow us on all our socials at SpectrumTv NG. So today we want to look at a very important topic that has called for concern in the society, especially with the recent happenings around the country and the world at large. So the topic of discussion today is the importance of mental health. Mental health refers to a cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being. It is all about how people think, how they feel, and behave. So people sometimes use the term mental health to mean the absence of a mental disorder. Mental health can affect your daily living, can affect your relationship, and of course, your physical health. However, don't forget, this link also works in the other direction. Factors in people's life, like interpersonal connections and physical factors can all contribute to mental health disruptions. Now, looking forward now, after mental health can perceive a person's ability to enjoy life. So doing things involves reaching a balance between life activities, responsibilities, and effort to achieve psychological resilience. So conditions such as stress, depression, and anxiety can all affect mental health and disrupt a person's routine. Don't forget that. Although the term mental health is a common use, and many conditions that doctors recognize as psychological disorders have, physical roots. Now, before I continue, I would like to give you tips on how to be mentally stable. Mind you, we are going to have a doctor join us today to give us, a medical perspective on what mental health is all about, and then take you through the journey on how to be mentally stable and avoid all the disorders we have today. But quickly, let me just give you the tip on, how to be mentally stable. Number one is value yourself. Treat yourself with kindness and respect and avoid self-criticism. Make time for your hobbies and favorite projects, or broaden your horizon. Read something, do your daily crossword puzzles, plant a garden, take a dance lesson, learn to play an instrument, or become fluent in another language. That is something that is very interesting to do, right? And then secondly, take care of your body. You are the only person that you have, so taking care of yourself, physically, can improve your mental health. So be sure to eat nutritious meals, avoid smoking. Yes, I hope that rang a bell. Avoid smoking, and then drink plenty of water. We cannot say the importance of drinking water. We cannot i mean overemphasize on it. It is very crucial and important that you take a lot of water, get enough sleep. Researchers believe that lack of sleep contributes to a high rate of depression in college students. Aside from students, it could be at your workplace, something is stressing you out. Just take care of yourself. And then number three, which is very important, is surround yourself with good people. Good people with strong family or social connections are generally healthier than those who lack a support network. So make plans with supportive family members and friends, or seek out activities where you can meet new people, such as a club or a class or a support group. All right? And then number four, which is the very last one I'll take today, is give yourself. Volunteer your time and energy to help someone else. You feel good about doing something tangible to help yourself in need, and it's a great way to meet new people, see fun and cheap things to do in an environment. Just do something that is interesting to keep you happy. I hope these tips were very helpful. Like I did said, we'll go on a very short break, and when we come back, we have Dr. Gladys join us today on the show to enlighten us more on how to be mentally stable, and of course take us through the journey to mental health. Please stick around, don't go away. You're very welcome back from that short break. We'll be having Dr. Gladys join us today on the show via Zoom. So let's place a call to Dr. Gladys and see what she has to say about mental health. Hello, Dr. Gladys.
Thank you very much and good evening.
Good evening and welcome to the show. I must say you look very beautiful.
Thank you very much. You look beautiful yourself.
All right, so quickly, ma'am, can you please tell us what, mental health is in your own words, or generally, what do we perceive, or what can we say mental health is?
Okay, so first of all, when someone hears the word mental health, they just think psychosis, someone that is mad or not okay. But I think people are getting used to the fact that the word mental health doesn't have anything to do with being mad on the streets. Yeah, so mental health, in my own words, I'll say is a state of being mentally stable. Remember, the word is mental health.
Exactly.
Mental health doesn't mean that something is wrong. It's just a state of being mentally stable. I think the World Health Organization would say that mental health is a cognitive disorder or behavioral or emotional disorder, well-being, not disorder.
Yeah.
Mental health disorder is a different thing.
Yeah.
So generally, mental health is a cognitive or behavioral or emotional well-being of a person,
Yeah.
having to do with how a person feels, how a person behaves, how a person thinks, how a person responds to things.
Yeah.
That's basically mental health. So where it is healthy, it's called a healthy mental health. Where it is unhealthy, it's now where we now associate it with mental health disorders. What is causing the disorders is what we can discuss further.
So, what are the causes of these mental disorders that you talked about, Dr. Gladys?
Well, the truth is that when they say mental health
Yeah.
and we collect the word, when you say this person is mentally unhealthy or this person is mentally unstable, it
Yeah.
means that you've seen signs in the person, right,
Yeah.
that is making you conclude that this person is not okay. It's not that you think the person is sick. The person might not be having fever or anything. No, just the person's attribute, the person's behavior. So you see a person in your house, maybe you're living with a friend or a sister or a parent, whatever, and you begin to notice that this person becomes moody or this person becomes withdrawn. The person doesn't do the things he used to do normally. The person begins to change, but maybe negatively. Do you understand? So you now begin to wonder what's going on with this person. That is when you're being disturbed and the word mental disorder comes in. Now it's not left for this person to be diagnosed by a doctor what it might be, because mental disorders are a lot. There are many of them, which if we have time, I might mention some of them. And because there are many, and thin line between them are so close, you do not even get to, you might not even know the difference between what is this one and the other one. They are very close, the changes are almost the same. So what are the things that can lead someone to having mental disorders is what you ask. Well, the truth is there are a lot of things. In fact, just being alive is one that can, is just being alive predisposes you, is a risk factor. It's only dead people that don't have problems. So the things that we go through in our daily life is what exposes us to an unhealthy mental state. Example would be the economic standard that we're living in. Do you understand? For instance, in Nigeria, after the what do you call it, the pandemic, it's been very hard for people to pull through. It's been very hard for people to come back to their normal selves. So the economic status of the person would be one of the one of the ranking, the highest ranking risk factor for someone to be mentally unstable. So people in the, and this doesn't have to do with the fact that no, even people that are very rich might be having mental issues. So your economic status, how you make your money. So a person that has so much money, but is making it illegally, might not even be happy because you're afraid that you might be caught. Two, the way you're even getting in stress, the mental effects that the bad things you're doing is having on you. So whether it is rich or poor, so a person that is average does not have enough money to meet their need, that kind of person can go into a mental disorder that will now be seen by their environment. So too much or too less can be a problem. Now, it's the ability for a person to handle their daily life, the ability for them to handle their daily life is now what leads to a healthy mental state. The ability to handle it, filter when to say, I don't want to do again. Filter when to say, I need to rest. Filter when to say, I need to exercise. Filter when you need to say, enough is enough. Or even if I don't have enough money, it's okay. Filter when to say, I don't want to do things to impress people. That is what will now help you to have a good mental state. But in a place where a person cannot filter these things, do you understand? A person cannot does not know when to draw the line, that's when the person goes into a mental disorder. And you can now see that, okay, the natural things that other people are even going through, this person is unable to carry it. So the person goes into either depression, anxiety, whatever disorder the person has.
Yes, please, you mentioned some mental disorders. Can you please explain more on the different mental disorders we have?
Okay, so medically, there are a lot of them, and I might not be able to exhaust them, but I'll mention. And some of them, people might not even understand the words, but you can check them up. So if I say anything you don't understand, since I don't have enough time to explain them one after the other, because thank God for Wikipedia, Google, whatever, you check these things. Okay, so mental disorders can come in different forms. There are three main categories, and that's the anxiety disorder one, anxiety disorder. The next one is called the mood disorder, and then there's schizophrenia. These three are the broad groups. Then I'll now mention some in them. So like, for instance, the anxiety disorders, there is generalized anxiety disorder. That's in a general state. So social factors, family, generally pushes you to be very anxious about life. Easy, like little things make you very anxious. You're trying so hard to make people impressed and all of that. That's generalized. Then there is also panic disorder. So you easily get panicked. So they easily get panic attacks. They have a task to do before you know they're sweating. They're very unsure of themselves. Low self-esteem can also be one thing that can lead to that. Another one under the anxiety disorders would be a lot of phobias. There are so many types of phobias. People have phobia for the social life. People who cannot climb a stage. Phobia for so many things. I can't start mentioning them. Some people have phobia for water, as in swimming. Some people have phobia for too much light. So there are a lot, and it's individualized. So it doesn't mean that because it's happening to you, it will happen to another person. No, it's individualized. And the things that cause them, even the scientists, some of them are not known, but mostly social factors. Okay, another one is obsessive compulsive disorder. So it's like a person becomes very obsessed with things. They call it OCD. Some people don't even know the meaning of the OCD. So OCD, some people are very obsessive about clean places. They want everything. If they see a little, they feel very uncomfortable. Exactly. Another one is post-traumatic stress disorder. I think that one has to post-traumatic, as the name implies, after a trauma. So maybe a death of a loved one, maybe someone that was involved in an accident. After a certain trauma, a person begins to have a lot of anxiety. So imagine you lost someone. Once you hear that someone is sick, you begin to panic. You're very worried. Exactly. Or you saw a snake biting someone, the memory is sticking with you and you just can't get over it. Then the second category is the mood disorders. Of course, as the name implies, it has to do with emotional changes. People just have mood swings, and this one is mostly almost common with women. And that's because we are really hormonal invested. And we have mood swings depending on what hormones is bothering us at a certain time. Sometimes it's not our fault, sometimes it's our fault, because we can actually do things to lighten our mood. We can do things to change the way we feel, but some people don't even try. Yeah, and some of them, sedative lifestyles, they don't exercise, they don't eat properly, and because of that, your hormones become overwired, and because of that, you become like you are the father of all mood. Someone cannot detect your mood. 1 minute you're okay, the next minute. So these particular mood disorders, the categories under it can be major depressions. You see a lot of women are depressed, whether in their husband's house or not. Some and depressed, some are unmarried and depressed, some have children and depressed. So the problems are just a lot. You cannot even bother them. Then another one under that is bipolar. I'm sure you heard bipolar disorders, but some people don't even know the meaning of bipolar disorders. And since we cannot even explain all of it, but under the bipolar, you can manic phases and depressive phase. So the manic phase, you know who a manic is now? Someone that is addictive to something. So you behave like something is controlling you. So in the manic phase of bipolar, the person's mood is very heightened, overdoing. The person's mood is very high. And then the same person in the next minute will go into depressive phase. And then the person's mood is low. So no matter what you do, the person just wants to be left alone, doesn't want to associate himself. So those are the changes you see. Then the last one is schizophrenia. When you hear the word schizophrenia, it's still under debate whether it is a single disorder or it is a compound disorder, because it has a lot of, when you look at the schizophrenic person, you will realize that there are a lot of symptoms. So it can pick a symptom from anxiety to panic. And so it's a group of symptoms affecting a person. And the main things that you see in such a person, the main signs that you see in such a person is that the first one is mostly between the age of 16 and the age of 30. Yeah, so it's in the middle age like that. So these young people become overly, it's like their thoughts is fragmented, their emotions, they can't control their emotions, they cannot actively put their actions together and it rhymes. You're wondering, you did this, meanwhile it's not something that person would usually do. So these are the kind of things you see and you know that, okay, this person needs to see a doctor. But don't forget, you can't pick point one. The person has to go through a series of psychological check by a medical doctor or a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a psychotherapist for this type of diagnosis to be done.
Interestingly, you said something about one of the disorders, which is OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and also PTSD, which has to do with post-traumatic stress disorder. I find that very interesting. Because I feel a lot of persons are actually going through this. You understand? So it's very common with some persons around Nigeria or even the world at large. So please, can you, expatiate more on OCD? How can someone cope with OCD and PTSD?
Okay, so for a person that likes to be a perfectionist, the truth is that if you look around you, the reason why it's even a disorder, which is not supposed to be, for someone to be very obsessive about something, it's not supposed to be a bad thing, right? But because it is obsessive, when it is excessive, you're now doing it in an excessive manner. You get in, it's compulsory. It's like you can't do without it. Look around us. We're in a world that is imperfect. So if you live in a world that is imperfect and you're doing everything possible to be perfect, of course you're not okay. So because why? When you begin to think that you have to be perfect in an imperfect world, what happens? You become unstable. Yeah, you can't make sense. So when other people are just, they can just leave the sand on the ground and go their way. It doesn't mean they are dirty, serious. They can move on. When you see those type of people, you now see them as the problem. Meanwhile, those are the natural ways of actually dealing with things. So for me, a person that, and you know, this type of person, they don't even know that this is how they are. Yeah, they don't know that this is how they are. So my advice for that kind of person would be, or if you know such a person, is for you to actually speak to them, let them get one, that we're in an imperfect environment. There's nothing wrong with the sand on the ground. There's nothing wrong with letting go of this thing. There's nothing wrong with overlooking a situation. You don't have to make everything perfect. Then profess love even in under perfection. Even the Bible, sorry, where I'm a child of God. The Bible says that I don't know how to say it. I won't say it in such a way that it will come into what I'm trying to talk about. The person that's trying to make everything perfect, even God said that we are imperfect, right? But we are constantly working towards perfection. Yeah. The same Bible in Romans also told us that God loved us even while we were sinners. Even in our imperfection, God loves us. So imagine that God loves me even when I'm not perfect. Me, I'm now trying to be perfect on my own. You don't condemn such a person. No. You just, your own is to love them and tell them that, hey, even if you allow this floor to be dirty, I'll still love you. Even if you couldn't take your shower today, I will still love you. But the problem with our environment is that when you see such a person, people begin to run away from them. They detach themselves. When you do that, you now begin to make them feel alone. Am I so strange? Is there something wrong with me because I'm trying to make things perfect? And when they start thinking like that, it becomes destructive to them. So they begin to withdraw. Before you know, they're depressed. That's why most of the time, mental health problems, they're not, it's never one symptom. It's always a compoundment of either panic, anxiety, depression. It's never one. I don't know if you understand. So by the time you know that, you have to follow them step by step. That's why a psychologist is necessary, because a psychologist has the patience to talk with their patients very well. They will wait, they will continue, they will listen. But in our world, we don't have such a time to listen to people. Then the other one is traumatic stress disorder. I promise you, for that one, it's individualized. You cannot decide how a person will react to trauma, right? Some of us have gone through things. People that are very close to us have died. I've held my uncle in my hand, someone I cared so much about, and he died. Yes, I wasn't okay in the first month, but I know that there is life after. Do you get? So I also know that I'll see this person again someday. And so you move on. For you to be healthy, you have to be able to talk to yourself. That's why it's important as a child, when your children, as a mother, when children are growing up, always remind them that this world is not perfect. One, you don't have to be perfect. Two, just continue to strive. Three, you have to keep teaching them how to move on from situations. Bad things happen. But some parents, they try to portray to their children that life is perfect, especially those that have money. You can be perfect, you can have everything. No, life is not perfect. That's why if a mother and a father dies that we were rich, a child cannot recover.
All right, Ma, thank you so much. It's been a very educative evening, and I'm sure someone out there has learned something new today. Please, quickly before you go, can you please give us your parting shot? What can you say to someone watching you out there today on, how to stay healthy, and then possible solutions on how one can stay mentally stable?
All right, thank you very much. First of all, it's always a pleasure to speak about people's health, because if you can, if you can put out an awareness, you can help one or two people to become more conscious of how they live. So I'm hoping that this particular session will help somebody out there. Okay, so I would like to mention a few um, signs, because the best thing that can happen is, one, prevention of mental disorders. Prevention. In our world today, the first thing we should be preaching is prevention. You can prevent it, you will not even get to it, right? Life itself is not perfect, is one. That has to be preached. People have to get that. Number two, people have to understand also when a person is actually becoming mentally unstable. Early signs. So you're living with somebody, or even you're not living with a person. In church, you notice a sister or a brother that is always very lively, or at work in your office, the person is always very lively, nothing, or you already know that somebody is always very moody, like in Sido, or nothing is wrong with the person is just always a quiet person, no problem. But you know that in the long run, I know how this person is, even if we're not friends. And then you notice changes. You notice that someone that is always very excited, happy, will do her makeup, or he's always dressed up, suddenly becomes very dull. Suddenly doesn't want to talk to people. Suddenly prefers to stay on their own. Suddenly doesn't want to do makeup again. It's not normal. Don't look at them and say, this one, he'll be fine. No, no. There are drugs for psychological problems, yes, but it is therapy that helps. You can be the therapist where you are. Do you understand? So look out for the early signs of depression in people. So you see that the person, or you're living with someone, the person is always sleeping too much, or in the office, suddenly he's always sleeping, even if it's a madam. That's the problem. When people are in big positions, people don't like to talk with them. No, go in. Excuse me, ma. I notice you're now very moody. Are you okay? She might not be able to talk to you the first time, but go again. When people feel that you're concerned about them, they will open up. Don't wait for someone to see your symptoms. You notice the changes in you and say, no, this is not me. Begin to talk to yourself that, no, I can do better, or it's not that serious, or life happens. Bad things will always happen. And the bad things are not happening to you because you're a bad person. Bad things also happen to good people. This is very important. So let me not say that, let it not be said that I didn't say this. Women have, like, even the World Health Organization recognizes that women are on the highest list of mental disorders. And whether it has to do with hormones or anything, but women. So women are the first risk targets. So because of our gender, so people easily pick on us. It is us that they will talk about, she's not dressed well. You dress, is problem. You don't dress, is problem. It's women, they will say, didn't she notice that her breast is too big? She should cover it more. It's women that they will say, how can somebody, are you a man? Why are you having such a small breast? So we have this need for women to impress. Do you understand? Is this need. You don't do makeup is a problem. You do makeup, why do you have to do so much makeup? But men don't go through that level of, how do I say it, discrimination. So women are a target to mental health disorders. So we need to look out for ourselves as women.
Thank you so much. It was good having you on the show today. Please have a lovely evening. There you go. Dr. Gladys has given us, her tips on how we can stay mentally stable and mentally healthy. I hope that was very helpful. That's how much we can take today on well-being. Please do well to subscribe to our channels and follow us on all our socials at SpectrumTv NG. Before I go, I'll just quickly give you the tip of the week, which is please remember to stay healthy. Feed yourself with a lot of useful things that will help your body to stay mentally stable and mentally healthy. Thank you so much for joining me on well-being today. Till I see you next week, it's a goodbye.